I would say. You're still in your prime, right? I know you can kind of relate to BJ Penn on this card. BJ's 33 years old, and BJ's like, yeah, I want to keep fighting because I don't think I've ever been better, and I understand all the stuff going into prepping a fight.
Well, the BJ, again, came up like when I did, a couple years ago, where it was there was no real format. It was like, okay, the jiu-jitsu guy versus the stand-up fighter, the wrestlers versus jiu-jitsu guys. There wasn't really that one guy that was well-rounded. I think maybe the first guy that we started seeing doing that was like Frank Shamrock. And he was the exception to the rule, not the norm. So really, the individuals nowadays have more of a blueprint to follow to go, okay, this is how we train now. It's no longer we training boxing. You're training jab, cross, to a double leg takedown, to running a dump, now passing the guard. It's like, well, where's jiu-jitsu? It's all, what do you mean? There's no jiu-jitsu. There's no wrestling. No. It's MMA, man. It's a takedown. It is what it is. You can call it judo if you want to, but it's still the same thing.
Getting ready for UFC 137 down here at Mandalay Bay. We will give away tickets in just a little bit. Frank Mir's hanging out with us down in the kind of in the walkway to the arena. The weigh-in goes down at 4 o'clock. Marty Cordova's here. Dave Koken is here. We'll get to all the baseball in just a little bit. See, I find BJ fascinating over the years to cover because, and you probably have a connection this way. Since you guys both came in so young and you start making money, there's a lot of fame to deal with, and BJ admits, he was immature. He didn't deal with it the right way, and he wasn't always focused. And it's not easy. It's not easy for. I'm sure Marty just got up, but I'm sure any professional athlete can tell you when you go right to the top of the heap at 21, 22. You're kind of mentally screwed.
Yeah, and especially I think in our sport, at least in football, you have player unions and you have senior guys that have been there for decades in the sport that have been there, done that can sit there and kind of guide you through.
But you still got all that money in your pocket all of a sudden, and it's.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying that they're not without their faults too. I'm just saying that if you think it's bad for them, look at what we were going through. We didn't even have those guys.
Think about it. With the old guys. Who would mentor you at that time, they were just experiencing this.
Yeah.
So who knows if they were dealing with it the right way. They didn't have experience doing it.
No, all of us were so new to it that we didn't have anybody, I guess using the term old or new guy, we didn't have anybody that had been a superstar for 10 years.
Yeah.
The sport wasn't even old enough. The sport's not 10 years old, at that time, So we didn't have anybody to kind of sit there and go like, hey man, what do I do? It's like, I don't know what to do either. You got Dana White himself, who's the president of the organization, and he's just new to the fame too. All of us are kind of like learning how to deal with it. I think at the same time.
Well, I can remember when Frank first came in studio. Whatever it was now, 10 years ago, 8 years ago, and you actually were kind of a quiet guy. Like you were nervous, and that's an adjustment process, and which brings us to the other side of the main event with Nick Diaz, who I think he's got some issues anyway. I think he might have some sort of anxiety disorder or something there.
No, I agree.
But what is your take on kind of the way he slinked away at times from some of the media responsibilities? Clearly, he's not comfortable with it, and yet I also think he's a really smart guy, so I don't know if maybe he's doing it on purpose. I can't figure him out. Maybe he's playing all of us.
He's smart, but I think that was kind of a gamble that cost him a lot of money.
Yeah.
I don't really think.
Yeah, that one didn't work out.
Yeah, that one didn't really work out. That one's and he's still having to fight in the main event. It's talking about backfiring, No, I just think that a guy like Diaz has probably had to deal with confrontation on that level his whole life. So now he's fighting in the octagon. That's not something new to him. If you say, hey, you're going to fight that guy, it's like, okay, I'm a fighter. I get that. If you say, okay, you're going to stand in front of a couple hundred people and answer questions about yourself that you might not want to have to answer, you might not be happy about certain questions, deal with that. Well, how many times in his life has he probably been the outspoken kid that has a crowd of people listening to what he has to say? So that's a lot more to deal with. It's different. All of us have different anxieties that we have to overcome, and whatever he has to do, I think he's a young enough guy. He's in the future of the sport. Obviously, he's going to have to come to a head with this. It's not going to be one of those things where he's going to keep fighting, going, well, I can't fight a title fight. I think that eventually, he'll get it figured out.
Nick Diaz, BJ Penn in the main event. Frank Mir is breaking it down for us. So what do you think happens in that fight this week?
You know what?
I'm not looking ahead to GSP yet.
You know what? Diaz is a great striker as far as great movement, moves around. He's very tall and long. Good at jiu-jitsu. BJ Penn though is extremely powerful, man. The guy lands a punch. I think it's just kind of pretty much whoever really imposes their will. I have a hard time ever betting against BJ. I think just because a lot of us I think that came up in the early years almost kind of have like a hero worship almost with BJ just because of he was the prodigy. He went out there and was mauling people easily that people didn't think that he should have been. So I have a hard time ever going against BJ.
So game plan each side. If you're on the BJ Penn side, how do you beat Diaz?
I think making sure that you don't get flustered with the strikes that he's going to be throwing, the continuous attack. Don't fall into that. Just keep head movement to make him miss, and when you land, make them count. He is possible to be hit, but I think some people are so eager just to touch him that they don't take advantage of the opportunity to actually do damage. Obviously, I don't think you're going to land as many shots as Diaz is going to land, so you're going to make your shots count for a lot more.
I'll give you my plan for Diaz, but I don't think he'll execute it. I would work at a distance in the first round, make sure it goes to 5 minutes, go high volume, and then from there I would start looking to clinch a little bit and maybe score a takedown and try to get top control. Not easy against Penn, and I know Fitch is a lot bigger than Diaz is, but it kind of worked for Fitch because no matter how much he says he's mastered the conditioning, I still think BJ in the middle of the second on, at 170 especially, could have cardio issues, but you got to make him work.
Yeah, I agree. I think that if I was to coach against BJ, that's what, you're not going to want to go out there and fight him in a quick, explosive battle to begin with. No. He's able to knock people out, and he's able to submit you quickly. I think that the only chink we've ever really seen in BJ's armor, we've always seen, would be to sit there and go, well, test his conditioning. So, I mean, that's very smart. Why would you test his ground skills? Why would you test, if George St. Pierre didn't come out there and immediately try to just take him out, here's the champ. He goes out there and weighs on him and pushes on him and pushes against the cage and doesn't sit there and exchange with him. He goes, I didn't want to box him in the first round. I wanted to try to get him fatigued and then start looking for takedown. If that guy's going to be methodical about it, I think everybody else probably should be too.
That's Frank Mir. We're hanging out here at Mandalay Bay getting ready for UFC 137. The weigh-in's coming up in about 45 minutes. You can come on down here, and like I said, about 15 minutes away, we'll do a phone giveaway for tickets to the event. We've got closed circuit tickets as well. So the MMA is amazing, and it happens in boxing too, but maybe more in the movies with like Apollo Creed and Rocky. But after a fight, working together, which that is weird. I think most people are like, oh, these guys all hate each other. But you and Roy Nelson had a relationship before you fought. You still have a relationship, so much so afterwards that you worked with him right before this fight.
We've been in my gym almost. He goes in the morning, we work with the same boxing coach now, James Gifford, and at night he comes down to my gym. Either he works with his coaches on the Monday, Wednesday, Friday, he's doing his thing, and then Tuesday, Thursday I would jump in and help spar to make sure that give him the look of Mirko, southpaw, trying to throw the kicks and the left hand.
So one thing he said about facing you is you were a lot stronger than he expected.
Yeah. Well, I've been facing some monsters of late, so I've been working on making sure I got.
Here's the other thing, Frank. You're naturally a heavyweight. I'm not saying he's not a heavyweight, but I don't know if he's a 262-pound heavyweight. He keeps us really close to the vest. By looks, I don't think he dropped any weight. Is there a chance he comes in today at like 245?
No, I don't know if he comes at 245.
Do you talk to him like, dude? Because everyone says it's like, and we're just schlubs who are outside the cage, but clearly, like Roy, you'd help yourself. He could be I really think he'd have success at 240, then have to be 260.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of years ago, I even pointed out to Roy, I'm like, man, if you really were to push this 205 thing, I think your frame is capable of making 205. And you hit like a Mack truck at heavyweight. Could you imagine the light heavyweights trying to take shots? I mean, that's the thing I don't think people realize about Roy. He's always going to be a pain for anybody to fight. He has a phenomenal chin. Dos Santos couldn't put him away. I didn't put him away. I had bruises on my knees after that fight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I hit him with everything with the kitchen sink, So he's always going to be there. And then even now in practice, there's times he throws that overhand right, and we're just training, and he lands on the top of my head and moves my neck over, and my ear's touching my shoulder, and it gives me a stinger. I'm like, man, if that lands on anybody's chin, you're going to go down. I don't care who you are. Certain guys are resilient enough, they might fight afterwards a little bit, but if he lands his right hand, you're going to go to sleep most likely.
Yeah. Does he think that is part of it that he thinks that if he went down that much in weight that he would lose some of that power?
I don't think so, because I mean a lot of his weight, is not necessarily.
Yeah, I know.
It's like you, Dave. You're 130. You're up to 150 with the gut.
Though realistically, though, the joke I keep making though is Roy, though, from just so the fans can see. I don't know if he approached training as intelligently. I always tell him, because now he's in the gym in the mornings. On the days he's hitting pads. He has a weight trainer. He's helping lift. I mean, the guy's over there. I see over 500 pounds on the squat rack, and he's pushing it. He's trying to become a better athlete.
So his body may not look different, but
he's definitely better. Well, I even told him, I said, "Hey, man, I'm glad you figured this out now, not one fight earlier."
Yeah, right. Rumor also. Oh, there we go. I'm gonna get punched by his better half. Okay, thank you.
Just talking about it.
Yeah, we were just talking about Roy and his svelte physique.
But no, some guys just have different body types.
Well, I think it's a mental thing too. I do think he likes being up. That's what he's become used to.
Being the heavyweight champs will be more exciting than being the light heavyweight champ. Maybe it's all sports kind of that way.
And rumor is he's actually 235, and the hair, the horse hair, and the beard is actually 25 pounds worth now. So
it's I tell him that's the part I hate about him though. I can't grow facial hair, and he has such a beautiful Viking beard. And I'm just like, man, he looks like a lion, and here I'm just like a 12-year-old boy. If I don't shave for a week, I look like a little John Leguizamo. My wife tells me I look like.
Another heavyweight on the card who people like the athletic ability, but he's real young. I mean, not age-wise, but in terms of his maturity as a fighter. Matt Mitrione has people excited because the hands are fast. Former NFL guy, Big Ten defensive lineman. What do you make of him?
I think he has a ton of ability, and I think anybody who's overlooking him is making a very deadly error. He's a southpaw. He has a great straight left hand that's quick and drops people. That's kind of a pain. I mean, you go to boxing and say you have a boxer who's tall, moves around. He fights from a southpaw position, has a straight left hand that drops you. It's quick. I don't think you're going to have promoters and managers knocking down that guy's door to sign their fighter up to face him. Obviously, he's still working on the grappling action of his game, but which fighter is not working on some aspect of the game and bringing it up? But as far as his head movement and his footwork and being elusive, and once he figures out the grappling a little bit better, he's a threat to a lot of guys.
That's one of those guys, I'm sure, when he gets in the gym, and you got heavyweights who've been working at this for like 8 and 10 years, and then he walks in and he's just, and Roy told us that after the reality show, he's like, that guy has the fastest hands I've ever seen as a heavyweight. And I was like, really? He hasn't fought before.
Yeah, very quick, just explosive athlete. So if he can, channel that also into shooting, a double and putting guys down on their backs, now he's a complete package. He has hands and takedowns, and that we've seen in our sports, a pretty deadly combination.